ESPN.com. My name is Andrew Krammer. I'm joined by ESPN.com's Ben Goessling here to preview the Vikings against the Chicago Bears on Sunday at TCF Bank Stadium, where the Vikings are trying to end a two-game funk at home. Obviously, they've lost 3 of the last 4, but they're still in solid position for a playoff push, and Sunday is where it's going to start. Ben, first of all, the Vikings are going to be without Anthony Barr and Harrison Smith again on Sunday. They were both ruled out after being limited or missing practice this week. How do you think they're going to deal with those injuries?
Well, I think you start with it being a little bit of a good thing in the sense that they have played without these guys in the past. This is not going to be the first time that they are dealing with, oh my gosh, we don't have 2 of our best defenders on defense. They were really in worse straits last Thursday against Arizona, considering they were also without Linval Joseph.
Yeah.
They were starting Terrence Newman as safety really for the first time in his career. They were playing on the road against a better offense. So, really for the Vikings in recent weeks, this is a better situation on defense.
Oddly, it is.
It's kind of funny to say that, but
Yeah.
it is. You're dealing with a situation that isn't quite as dire as what they were in last Thursday in Arizona, but I do think it will affect them doing some of the things that they would like to do on the blitz. They blitzed Jay Cutler, according to our stats and information logs, I think it was 51% of the time.
That's a lot.
The last time they played, I think that's the most they blitzed anybody all season.
Yeah.
And those 2 guys obviously are a big part of that. They are what makes it flexible. They're what makes it unpredictable. So not having them, I think, will force them to alter some things that they do, trying to get pressure on Jay Cutler on Sunday. That is kind of one of the areas I would expect to see it the most. Also in how they deal with those running backs that the Bears have.
Yeah, and Mike Zimmer, too, speaking of the blitz, he's not going to tell us, obviously, but they have adjusted the way that they've pressured quarterbacks without Anthony Barr specifically. He's the teeth to what this defense does, specifically what the blitz package does. And as you brought up, Harrison Smith, he's one of the main defensive backs that gets involved in those blitz packages. So without those guys, I'd expect them to kind of tailor back a little bit, as they have on the blitz. They didn't blitz the Cardinals much. They didn't blitz Seattle much. And I would imagine that's going to continue here against the Chicago Bears on Sunday. But Linval Joseph might be able to come back. He practiced this week for the first time in 2.5 weeks since injuring his foot in Atlanta. He's going to be a key piece to turning around that run defense that has struggled of late. They gave up 3 straight 100-yard rushers, and then obviously David Johnson in Arizona averaged about 5 yards a carry against the Vikings. If they can get Linval back, move Sharif Floyd back to his normal spot, I think that's going to help this defensive line. And Everson Griffin as well is also listed as questionable with a shoulder injury, so they could be dealing now. They could possibly be without 4 starters.
They could.
Which would hurt them, but if it's just the 2, then that's going to be good, and you're right, that's going to be a better situation than Arizona. Dealing with those 2 running backs that Chicago has now, ever since Everson Griffin knocked out Matt Forte in that game, they've gone to 2 running backs in Jeremy Langford and Matt Forte, both of them capable in many different areas of the field. How do you see them stressing what the Vikings want to do?
Well, I think it'll be in a couple different ways. Number one, it's what those guys can do on the ground. I think especially if you don't have Linval Joseph, that's something they're going to have to be concerned with. But also, what those guys mean in the passing game, I think, is a big part of it. We've seen teams try to attack the Vikings with screens in the past. The Bears tried to do it a lot with wide receivers the last time these 2 teams played. I would expect that we'll see some of those things. We'll see Forte, we'll see Langford get the ball in the passing game as well. Not having Anthony Barr to deal with some of those things over the middle, not having Harrison Smith to deal with some of those things over the middle, is something the Vikings will have to adjust to. I think having those guys in space in the middle of the field is certainly something the Bears will try to exploit what the Vikings are missing on defense. And if they can do that, that is going to present an issue on Sunday.
One guy I'll be watching closely, too, is a guy like Eric Kendricks, who in the middle has kind of struggled without the big man, Linval Joseph, in front of him. Speaking of running backs, Adrian Peterson said this week that he feels the Vikings found a winning formula on offense. It just happens to come after
how that works.
Just happens to come after he saw his highest share of playing time in 14 career games under Norv Turner as offensive coordinator. Ben, do you feel they actually found a winning formula, or was Adrian just happy with how he was used?
No, I do think that this is closer to something that can work for them long term than what we've seen in the last few weeks. It seems like they have sort of been trying to find their identity on offense. Do we want to be a team that goes downfield as much as we would in a perfect world if our offensive line was better? Do we rely on Adrian Peterson? Where do we put Teddy Bridgewater, in the shotgun or under center? All of those things have kind of been open questions all year, but last week it seemed like that tug of war was not there as much. We saw Adrian Peterson on the field a lot more often. As you mentioned, they were better by getting him the ball early in the game. And we saw some of those quick passes that I think Teddy Bridgewater is more comfortable with right now. It allowed him to get the ball out of his hands. It allowed his playmakers to get the ball and run after the catch. And they did a lot of it out of personnel groups where you thought they might still run the ball here. And on that drive at the end of the game, that 88-yard drive that tied the game, they had a lot of those plays come out of 2 tight sets with Zach Line on the field.
There was that play action one, that 24-yarder dump off to Zach Line. It was on 1st and 20. And normally on first down, you see him commit and run to Adrian. But you're right, they mixed it up in the formation.
Yeah, and what that does is it makes defenses say, okay, we have, even no matter the down and distance, we have to account for the fact that Adrian Peterson's on the field. And I think they realized that, especially with as much as the Cardinals were blitzing. It takes a little bit of gumption to do it because you know Adrian Peterson's not the best pass blocker, but I think they felt like schematically, when you make people account for the fact that Adrian Peterson's out there, you kind of take what you get, and you take some of the things that might come with that because he is such a factor that he maybe opens some things up for other people.
I feel like that was the first time, too, in the 13th game of the season that you saw the Vikings kind of play off each other like that, where you had Teddy Bridgewater taking advantage of linebackers coming up, and it was Adrian Peterson being involved in those passing situations. The 2-minute, 4-minute drill, the hurry-up stuff, normally where you'd see Matt Asiata or Jerick McKinnon come in the game, you saw Adrian in there. So that's something to keep an eye on, and if they're going to continue that, or if they're going to go back to what they did. Because I believe, and as Mike Zimmer said this week, that Adrian does have an impact on the passing game, and when he's not in there, you don't have that same impact. So, guys, I want to thank you for coming to the website at 1500ESPN.com. Please check Ben's work at ESPN.com, the Vikings NFL Nation blog. Thanks for coming.